Hello everybody, what is up? It is Cyborg Elf here with another video. And for today's video, I want to go over how to make an internal trigger bot for CSGO, just because I want to myself brush up on internals because it's been a while since I've done one. And we did an external trigger bot a while back, which was cool and all, but I want to redo it. But before we jump into that, I'd like to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community that offers a subscription-based plan that gives its members access to a wide variety of educational courses. Skillshare has many topics to learn, such as, but not limited to, video production, web development, and programming. Skillshare's high-quality courses and videos make learning a new topic easy. Skillshare members get access to thousands of high-quality classes with hands-on projects and feedback from a community of millions. If you're like me and enjoy film, you might enjoy the fundamentals of DSLR photography taught by Justin Briggs. Or you might enjoy picking up a new programming language on Skillshare. Start your 2020 year off right, whether you're advanced in a topic or dabbling in a new field. Skillshare has classes that can fit your learning style and schedule. Skillshare is incredibly affordable with an annual subscription that's less than $10 a month. Learn something new this year. The first 1,000 people to click the link in the description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. So I'll be using Visual Studio 2019, Visual Studio Community. If there's a newer one, get that, but make sure you just get the community version of it. And not Visual Studio Code, that's not the correct thing. So let's make a new project and we'll do an empty C++ project, pretty simple. And I'll call this Triggerbot internal DLL. Name whatever you want and make sure you remember where the location the file is made as. And let's let that load up. This will be pretty simple to do. We'll convert our source files first, right click, add, new item, and we'll just simply add a CPP C++ file. And same thing. And let me zoom in here just so it's easier for all of you to see. You can hold down Control and just move your mouse wheel to zoom in and out. Hopefully this is a good size. So we'll start off with including IOStream and then including the windows.h, which has a lot of useful stuff that we'll use. And in my opinion, there is a lot less work that you have to do to get an internal set up compared to an external cheat. But before we get too far, let's come over here, right click on our on this, and then we'll head to property. So we want to make sure we change this configuration type from exe to a DLL, just because it is internal. And I've never seen an internal before that's an exe. After that, after we have that changed to DLL, we'll go to advanced and we will set our character set to multi-byte. Hit apply and then hit OK, and we should be good to go. So let's start off with our defines. I'm just going to simply copy and paste these in here. And we have 4 that we'll have to use. And just for some OCD, let's move that down there. So if you want to update these, you can update them yourself with your own haze dumper, or you can just come down to this. I'll have the link in the description. And just paste that in here, look for this, and copy the hexadecimal address into here. And do that for all of them. Usually CSGO updates every once in a while, every few days. And just do that. If you watch this video maybe a month later, you will definitely need to update the offsets. Let's start with a for declaration or whatever. So we'll do unit pointer underscore t. We'll just call this module base. Just because a lot of our functions that we make just now are going to be using this. So it's good to get that out of the way. Later we'll define it, and this will be one of the things that I copy and paste in, but after that I'll show you how to code everything. This is a template right here for RPM, read process memory. And it just generally makes it easier to switch, because you can just switch the template when you want to go from an internal to an external. You can just switch the template instead of having to recode every little thing. So this is a template I like a lot. And right there, later I'll show you how you can use this template. It's pretty simple. Let's get started with our functions. So our first one will be get local player, and there's going to be no parameters in that, so we'll do this. And for this, we'll put it to return RPM, so we're going to read process memory, and the type will be a unit pointer underscore t. And inside of this, we'll just do module base, which if you remember, we haven't defined what it is yet, but we will in a bit. plus this offset right here. Pretty simple, and that function's done already. And that just gets the address of the local player. And our next one will be, our next one's going to be a get player. So getting other players that aren't just the local player. And this is actually going to take a parameter, and we'll just call this an index, into index. And let's do, this will return an RPM to uint pointer, and then it's going to be module base plus, it's going to go down our entity list, because in the entity list every player in the game is stored, even our local player, and it's going to go index times a value of 10. Okay. And let me explain this real quick. So what this does, if you haven't picked up on it already, it just gets the list of all the players. So say we have a player 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players in the game. If we do 2, it'll get the second player. If this index is 3, it'll get the third player. If this index is 4, it'll get the fourth player, so on and so forth. It's pretty straightforward, and we just use this 10 because we use the index of times 10 because that's the distance between each player. Pretty straightforward. I explained this in the last video when we did this internally. Our next one, instead of a uint pointer, it's going to be int, and it's going to be called getTeam. And inside of this, a parameter that can take will be the player. So we give it a player, and it just returns, oh, blah, blah, blah is on terrorist team, or is on counter-terrorist team. And we'll do return, and this type is going to be an int, again, just because we want it to return an int. So we'll do player plus, and then we have this offset m_i team number. So that's pretty straightforward as it goes. Oh yeah, our next one is going to be get Crosshair Id, and we'll do uint pointer underscore t. Again, we'll be just passing a player, and what it will return is it's gonna return the Crosshair ID. So whenever you're looking at somebody, your crosshair, it's probably not called Crosshair ID, that's just what I named it, but whenever your crosshair is pointed at a player, they'll have a number identifying if they are terrorist, counter-terrorist, friendly or hostile, things such as that. And this will be an int for the type, and simply it'll just be player plus, and then it's going to be our Crosshair ID offset up here that we defined earlier. And boom, so we have that bulk of it done, which was just these 1, 2, 3, 4 functions. And next, let's actually just jump down to it. Now this will kind of look familiar if you've done externals before, but the kind of inner workings for a DLL are a little different. So let's do that first. So we'll start off with our API entry, and just for my sake of my sanity, I'm going to copy and paste that in here. Right here is just the cases on what to do on DLL process attach, thread attach, and all that. This is a simple project, so there's not much that has to be done here. And again, all the code for this, I will upload it to a Pastebin or GitHub, just so you can take a look at it easier. Because I know it's really hard to see it on screen, especially if you're like watching on a phone or something. So we'll do a D word, and this is why we need that windows.h to be included, because we'll use things like D word. And it's going to be when API, and we'll just call this main thread, because I called it main thread down here, and we just need to make sure there's some synchronicity, that's a word, between it all. And we'll put in H module, and we'll call this H module. And again, capitalization stuff is important, and spelling is important. Okay, so this first thing is going to be for creating a console. You really only want to do this for debugging purposes. So this is alloc console function that we'll call, and then FRE open secure, pass in the reference to that file. And this is, you'll only be able to console output, you won't be able to do console input. There's another thing that you have to do for that. But if you're debugging stuff, this will be fine. And if you don't plan on using a console at all, you can just simply ignore this part. And that's what that's supposed to do. So we'll just output something. Make this say, hello, hacker. And that should be good. So next, let's do module base. And if it's a little different from doing it as an external. So the function we're going to use is going to be get module handle, I believe. Yeah, get module handle. And for this, we'll just pass in client.dll. And if you passed in null instead of this direct reference to what you want, it'd just get you the module handle of the main exe. So that's just a useful little tidbit right there. So next, let's jump into this next part would be the main of the code if you're doing this as an external. So we'll do a simple while true, so this just keeps running. And we'll do if get async key state. Man, IntelliSense is not helping me today. Okay, vk_end. That's just simply the end key. And we'll do and1. So this is if the end key on the keyboard is pressed. That's the key that's under the home button. And if that's pressed, we'll just run a break. And what that will simply do is it'll exit the whole code and the cheat will close itself. But here is we're going to be doing most of the logic of it. So we'll do an end called Crosshair Id, and this is where we'll use our functions that we made earlier. So we'll use get Crosshair ID, and then we'll use get local player, and then that will pass it nothing. So this will just get whatever the local player is looking at. And this next one we'll call Crosshair team, and this will be get team. This is going to get a team, and we'll use our get player function next. And you can see how these functions just make the code look nicer. And if you plan to expand, it could definitely limit down on just the amount of work you have to do. So instead of get player, we'll do crosshair ID -1. And then our next one will be int local team. And in my last video, I explained kind of the math behind why this -1 is necessary. Why you just need to go one back for a Crosshair ID when you feed it to the get player function. And then this last one is going to be int local team, and it's just going to get the team of ourselves so we can compare it. So we need to know our own team to know who the enemy is. So we'll do get team, and then we'll just feed in the get local player function. And we'll see why we need all this in a second with this little if statement right here. So crosshair ID, if it's greater than 0 and crosshair ID is less than 32. So it's checking if it's like an actual person. You might want to bump this number up to like 64 if you play in a lot of weird bot matches and stuff where like you have a bunch of people. But usually the journal number that you'll have in a casual match, I believe, is 32. And then we'll do another compare. This is why we had that and here. And if our local team is not equal to the crosshair team. So if the person we're looking at is not a teammate, and if the person we're looking at is not a teammate, what do? Well, of course, we shoot them. So we'll do mouse event, and then you can do this internally where you actually write and you force your gun to shoot in game, or you can just simulate a mouse click. It's really your call how you want to do that. So this first thing we're going to feed in here is going to be mouse event F. So left down, left click, left down, and then this next two parameters will be null, and then null, and then the location for the X and Y of where it's going to happen. I think this is what that is. It's just going to be 0. Because it doesn't matter where we click. The whole screen should be the game. So we had that one, and then this next one will change the down to an up. So we release the click. And right here, this is optional, but you can do sleep. So you can set it to sleep. Just because so it doesn't click like really fast, it will help optimize your CPU. You could experiment with this, and this is stored in milliseconds. So this is 100 milliseconds. This would be a second, I believe, so on and so forth. So that's a tenth of a second, I think. Well, we had that done, so we can do Control-Shift-B to build, or we can just come up here and click build. And let's see, no errors. Oh, and we have an error. Main thread must return a value. Oh, yep, okay, so I forgot to close up the stuff that we made earlier. So first off, we're gonna do fclose, F, and we'll do that. Our next thing is gonna be free console. And then right here, free library. This is one that you kind of need and it's important. Free library and exit thread. And we'll pass an H module of this thread that we're in right now. And then the exit code will just be 0. And then we'll do a return 0. You can get, this is the stuff right here that is linked up to this console that we allocated. Okay, so let's build that again. Hopefully these errors do go away. And they did. So copy the path right here and open up your favorite injector. So right here I'll be using this A-list injector, and the game CSGO is x86, so we'll do that. So let's type CSGO right here, select, is CSGO open? Okay, and just because I did not show how to make this undetected, because CSGO now does kind of detect manual map injection, it is really easy to bypass this. I'm not going to show you how to do that today, but there is a lot of places online like UC and stuff that have simple little bypasses that the injector just bypasses that. But right now we can go over here, right click and go to properties, and as a launch option put dash and secure, so we run the game without an anti-cheat. I always recommend testing on a second account just for safety and all that. But let's launch this game up. Okay, and one thing I just realized here is that this works right here. Everything works with this. But if you want to add some sort of something else, you can do get async key state, and then you can do a test for vk underscore menu, and that's the alt key. You can choose whatever key you want. And it just, whatever the alt key has to be held down in order for the Triggerbot to be activated, because some people don't want the Triggerbot activated all the time. So you can set that to like a key, and that's just something that you can do. So we'll launch the game up with harmless bots just to get all this tested and stuff. And we'll come over here again, CSGO, boom. And let's head over, we'll open our DLL, and we'll manual map inject whenever we're ready. And do keep in mind there's still a lot of work that can be done to optimize this code, whether that's checking for null pointers and stuff, or making it undetected. There's still a lot of work you guys can do if you want to have fun and make this code even better. Okay, so we're loaded up. We'll hit manual map inject, and our console's created. Remember how I said that's optional, so you can choose not to if you don't want to. So we're not shooting any teammates. Hopefully that's a good sign that our thing is working out. And yep. So whenever I'm looking at an enemy, it will be shooting. Like, my hand isn't even on the mouse right now. So I'll just move like this. It's kind of hard to like prove. I feel like some of y'all will be like, no, he's just pulling the trigger. No, but it's whenever the crosshair is looking at an enemy, it does shoot. And this is something that's pretty fun. It's pretty simple. This is why I like it as an introductory thing to internal cheats. So let's grab something like this. Let's see if we can camp mid like this. Oh, Yeah, you can see that, and the reaction time is pretty good on this. So we'll press N to exit out of the cheat, and we'll exit out of this. You can again change this sleep time to a number lower, even 0, just to get a faster reaction time. Anyways, I do hope all of you enjoyed this video. I want to make a quick little video for all of you today. Anyways, peace out.